How did a game that changed multiplayer horror forever gain such a bad reputation? From being one of the biggest games ever launched to becoming a joke among the gaming community. This is how Dead by Daylight went from a beloved game to a joke. It's 2016, and some people at a barely known video game company with a lot to prove try their hand at a multiplayer horror game. They wanted a truly terrifying game that left players with unique experiences every match. A good concept, but executed in a clunky way. So clunky, it would cause issues for the game over half a decade later. Dead by Daylight is born. I won't be talking about the development process in this video for those wondering, only each year and the respective events for those years. So, oh god. Strap up, it's time for 2016. As I was saying, clunky mechanics. However, at this time it wasn't really an issue. DBD was seen as a horror game, not a competitive game. Survivors wanted to be scared, and killers wanted to scare. That was the very basic formula at the time. However, survivors fighting tall mass murderers wasn't very realistic, so in the very first iterations of the game, survivors were given pallets, windows, and perks to counter being killed or caught. Well, said the very first killer mains, how is it fair that these survivors can infinitely loot windows and avoid me? Said Behavior, giving the survivors brand new parts so they can finish the game in less than 2 minutes. Well, said the killer mains again, how come my killer lays these stupid ineffective traps, but this killer can go invisible and slap people? Don't you think that's a little bit unbalanced? Shut up, said Behavior, releasing a killer that could quite literally teleport anywhere she wanted, quickly becoming the favourite of the four forever. Shut up again, said Behavior, releasing Hag. Oh, never mind, she's slow. Well, I guess this perk's quite good at least. Infinite window vault, unbalanced gameplay, perks that added unfair advantages, and killers that were so different from each other marked the year of 2016. Oh wow, Michael Myers is in the game. I no longer seem to care about the glaring issues as long as my favourite movie is represented. I'm sure this will also not become a trend in the future. Welcome to 2017. Here's a cool tall bunny lady that throws hatchets. Oh, one more thing. Here's a British guy that loves to fight, and here's his perk that makes you invincible and dashes you forward. Killer mains were starting to feel the heat. Brand new parts, infinite loops, perks that gave survivors an extra life. And what did they get? A killer that could shock survivors for 3 seconds? This doesn't seem very fair. What's next? Survivors can group up and speak on comms telling their teammates exactly where we are. And that's exactly what happened, sparking one of the very first DBD creator clashes. True Talent versus Achido. Achido was using his friend team to stream snipe True Talent. True, who had kinda seen the rise of survivor groups, was very skeptical of how fair this would be down the road. Also, these survivor-sided mechanics just don't seem survivor-sided enough. Give them flashlights. In 2017, just 1 year after the release of the game, DBD had slowly become more and more competitive as the scare factor decreased, marking the beginning of matchmaking DBD rather than horror DBD. Still in 2017, we now have Leatherface. Many players felt like his iteration was just a copy of Billy, but wait, this guy's good at camping. What if I don't want to chase the survivors? What if I'm tired of running the shack for 15 minutes? You know what? I'm staying here. Right at this hook, until the game ends. Yep, that'll show him. And while the Bubba mains were raising a family of 5 children waiting on the hook, a new killer would enter the game, licensed but so bad it would cause one of the biggest and ongoing marks on Behavior's reputation. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking of the Nightmare. Not KSI. Freddy Krueger. His power basically just made survivors fall asleep, entering the dream world, going invisible for a slight time. However, Freddy was just too weak. He was an M1 killer. You basically just chased people and hit them. He just wasn't well received, and slowly but surely became one of the least played killers in all of DBD. However, on the bright side, I guess, Midwich Elementary School was a very positively received map, still loved by a lot of people to this day. In 2017, we also got Feng Min, boasted a few good perks, not enough to switch players off Dead Hard. But at least we have barbecue and chili now, I guess. 2018, it's very clear DBD is no longer much of a horror game. Let's brighten up the maps a bit, add better animations, and give them a new killer. The pig. Again, this killer was really negatively received. She had a cool stealth ability, but other than her inverse bear traps, she was at the mercy of her M1s with no real advantage over Nurse. Okay, we'll make a new killer, one that can slow down survivors, soft counter dead hard even, and stop so much of the looping. On paper, this next killer was exactly what we needed, but the day came and we got the clown. Although the reviews for this killer were actually quite positive, it was becoming apparent that he was just another M1 killer, somebody who relied on moving forward and clicking their mouse to do any real damage. We also got Kate Dents in this update, but she came with a perk that revealed all palettes and windows, basically strengthening, looping, and helping more and more survivors learn the map, making looping an even worse issue for killers who already didn't want to chase for 15 minutes. This kind of led to the first killer revolt where a lot of people left the game. Well, at least the Bubba players are happy. Doing nothing. This year we got Pop Goes the Weasel, and this will add nicely to my perk set with barbecue and chili at least. Hopefully they won't get nerfed anytime soon. They got nerfed. The killer mains are getting quite annoyed. All these killers suck, and now survivors not only have an extra life, but they know exactly where to go at all times. The survivors are annoyed too though. These killers are getting perks that help them track me wherever I am, perks that ruin my gen progression. These killers on their own, however, are just not good enough. We need somebody better, somebody stronger, somebody who can cut off these loops before survivors can even use them. And in came the saving grace, the creme de la creme, the killer survivors hated, but killers loved. The Spirit. Her perks may suck for the most part, but she can go invisible and phase at lightning speed to wherever she needs to be. She's fast, she's strong, she even has a massive lunge to catch survivors. But wait a second. When phasing, Spirit makes a sound that survivors can hear. No worries, we have an add-on that completely stops that. The dogs had finally had their day. The killers were ecstatic, but survivors? Absolutely furious. Survivors make up a bigger percentage of the DBD base, it's always been this way. So naturally, after a bit of complaining, her powerful add-ons were changed, made a little bit weaker so that instead of not being able to hear it, everybody heard it everywhere. Oh, and this year we got the Legion. Terrible killer, but oh my days. Discordance, ladies and gentlemen. Fuck Survive with Friends. Take that, brand new part. Oh cool, look, it's Jeff. 2019. Oh boy, the plague. I could sit here and tell you the complaining done about this killer, but honestly, I don't want to. Mainly because all the complaints about her when she released are still complained about today. The main point is we now have corrupt intervention. It's alright. We also got Jane Romero, the double caked up girl herself. No meta perks for her though. DBD at this point was no longer a horror game. It was competitive, sweaty, angry. And if you didn't have 4 meta perks, you got your ass slapped back into the Middle Ages. The horror aspect this year, in my opinion, completely died. And then we got Ghostface. Hell yeah, we can crouch now and stalk people, expose them for downs. This is... Oh, survivors have found a glitch to reveal you with widescreen monitors. What? They can reveal you if they have widescreen monitors.
Right over this tall set of tires, it's impossible. Do this and stretch resolution. Immediately. And
then Ghostface was ranked as a bad killer after people realized all they had to do was look in his general direction to turn him into the biggest M1 killer we've ever seen, and now nobody plays him. Well, that sucks. Did we get any survivors? No, but things were about to get turned up to the next level. Quite arguably the biggest collaboration in DBD, maybe even in gaming history. The hit Netflix series Stranger Things hit Dead by Daylight. We got the Demogorgon, Nancy, Steve, and a map. Although perks weren't that good, to have such a massive IP in the game gave players hope. And even better, at the end of 2019, we were given Oni, a fast-paced killer with a rage mechanic. Not just an M1 killer, but a good killer, a fun killer. One that even survivors like to dodge and face, well, some did. For now, we got Yui Kimura. No outstanding perks, but at least now the game has variety and fun. Maybe it was a good thing they abandoned horror. Maybe the competitiveness was actually better. 2020, we got Deathslinger, Pyramid Head, Blight, and the Twins. Still not killers that rivaled Nurse, but they were fun and brought amazing mechanics to the game. Deathslinger's shooting was fun. Pyramid Head was a gaming horror legend. Blight could dash and run, although very clunky and slid off basically anything like he was covered in honey. Twins had the very first 2-killer character. It was going well, but during these years, big arguments were going on. This game has too many killers, this game isn't balanced. Dead Hard is still the most meta perk. The maps are getting boring, it's no longer scary. 2020 on paper looks like it should have been an amazing year. All these new killers and mechanics, but it wasn't. People were fed up of DBD. It was bleeding players, going from 76,000 at the peak to 54,000 at the end of the year. People were just fed up with the spaghetti the game had become. Too many variables, too many add-ons, too many perks, too many map RNG. And in 2021, with players bleeding, DBD's answer to this was to release one of the weakest killers in the game, Trickster. No good perks, not even for the survivor Yunjin. Received so poorly, it stands as one of the most negatively reviewed Dead by Daylight DLCs to date. The hype of 2020 was dead, and all DBD were doing was pushing out more DLCs, more cosmetics, more money in their pocket. They were neglecting the game, and it became obvious for the first time. We got the Nemesis, an amazing collaboration, but the RPD map was so hated it caused mass disconnects even if it just loaded up. We got Pinhead, and it didn't take long before people realised he just wasn't good enough, receiving the most negative reviews of any release yet. On top of that, they sold him with an NFT, something that caused mass outrage. DBD was selling out. It looked dead in the water. We then got Michaela Reed, which brought boon totems to the game. Killers now had another job to do. Snuff out totems that gave survivors another free perk, self-care. Even better than self-care. The artist was an amazing killer, still one of the strongest, but during all this heat and backlash, people just didn't appreciate. 2022 rolls around. The ring is in DBD. She's weak, her survivor is never used, and that brings us to today. DBD is not only just monetizing everything they can, but they're doing it during the downfall of their game. Hackers are everywhere. IP addresses are getting DDoSed because of the poor coding. Another DLC that is just not good enough. After 6 years, Dead Hard finally got a nerf. Too little, too late. The game has become a hack fest, monetized to the back teeth. Barely thought out releases over and over, shady business practices, and just poor balancing all around. If DBD keeps walking down this road, it's going to reach its fast decline.